Good morning, listeners. This is Linda from News in Bed with the last installment of our special edition series, It's Never Too Late, about the inspiring individuals who landed their big break later in life. Charles Darwin. It was the piece of scientific literature that was to forever change the way we look at the world. But Charles Darwin didn't write The Origin of Species until he was 50. The British naturalist kept his revolutionary ideas quiet for 20 years after returning from the voyage, where he gathered the ideas that would result in the theory that humans shared a common ancestor with apes. In 1825, Darwin began studying medicine at Edinburgh University in Scotland, but he left shortly after to train as a clergyman at Cambridge University. During this time, he pursued his passion for biology on the side, becoming an avid collector of beetles. He graduated in 1831, but rather than taking a job as a minister, he was invited on a voyage around the world. Over the next few years, Darwin collected specimens of extinct species and studied the local geology across 5 continents. On returning home, he began writing up his ideas, but it was still to be more than another 2 decades before On the Origin of Species was published. By 1858, Darwin had written 250,000 words in 10.5 chapters, but had published none. However, he then received a letter from the naturalist Alfred Russel Wallace, who had made similar observations about evolution. The next year, Darwin publicized the theory of evolution in The Origin of Species by Natural Selection, which was to become one of the most important books ever written. Morgan Freeman. Although he had worked in off-Broadway theater and played supporting roles in film and television, it wasn't until his early 50s that Morgan Freeman began to make it big in Hollywood. The much-loved actor, now 78, served a 5-year stint in the Air Force from 1955 to 1959 before moving to Los Angeles to pursue his acting. However, it would be nearly 3 decades before Freeman was to land his big break in movies. Hollywood began to sit up and take notice when the actor played a New York pimp in 1987 crime drama Street Smart, earning himself an Oscar nomination for Best Actor in a supporting role. This was closely followed by a second Oscar nomination, this time for Best Actor in a leading role, for his portrayal of an African-American chauffeur in 1940s Atlanta in the 1989 adaptation of Pulitzer Prize-winning play Driving Miss Daisy. Freeman went on to star in a string of successful films including The Shawshank Redemption, Seven, Bruce Almighty, The Dark Knight, and Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Following his 4th Academy Award nomination, he landed a 5th for Invictus in 2009. The father of 4 finally won an Oscar for his role alongside Hilary Swank and Clint Eastwood in 2004 drama $1 Million Baby. At the American Film Institute in 2011, while discussing how he broke into the industry at age 50, Freeman spoke about the importance of patience. He said, "Don't sit down and say you can't, because you can. Take your time, learn what you're doing, keep moving forward, keep plugging on." Toni Morrison. Renowned author Toni Morrison, 84, is widely considered one of America's greatest living novelists, with a multitude of prestigious literary awards to her name. But she didn't even start writing her first book until she was 39. Morrison worked on the novel, The Bluest Eye, in her spare time while raising her 2 children as a single mother and working as an editor at Random House. She joined the publishing house in the mid-60s when she was practically the only Black woman in the industry, after spending several years teaching at her alma mater, Howard University. While there, she published books by Muhammad Ali, Angela Davis, Huey P. Newton, and Toni Cade Bambara, among others. But The Bluest Eye and her second novel, Sola, received a warm reception from critics, but it was only after the publication of Song of Solomon in 1977, when she was 46, that Morrison began to receive national attention. In the following 2 decades, she rose to the very top of the literary world. Morrison won a National Book Critics Circle for Song of Solomon and a Pulitzer Prize in 1988 for Beloved, before becoming the first African-American woman to win the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1993. Now into her 80s, she continues to be a force in the literary world, and her most recent novel, God Help the Child, which she began in 2008, was published earlier this year. We hope these stories about how Vera Wang, Julia Child, Tim and Nina Zagat, Charles Darwin, Morgan Freeman, and Toni Morrison made their mark on the world later in life will inspire you to never give up on finding your own true calling, because it's never too late. Thanks for listening, and remember to make it a great day.